Namaste and welcome, beloved mighty companions.
Namaste, bienvenidos, amados compañeros poderosos.
The first thing Jesus said to me about this, that we're looking at how is healing accomplished and what is true healing.
Lo primero que me dice es Jesús, porque ahora vamos a ver cómo se logra la curación y cuál es la verdadera curación.
He says, admitting that you've traded heaven for hell.
Admite que estás intercambiando el infierno por el cielo.
Jesus, am I willing to admit I traded heaven for hell?
Jesús, estoy dispuesto a admitir que estoy intercambiando el infierno por el cielo.
Am I willing to admit that I relish the experience of hell?
Y estoy dispuesto a admitir que estoy disfrutando la experiencia del infierno.
This is so interesting. How consciousness plays. It's like hell is a place you're going to the future, right as you're in the burning fire.
El infierno es como un juego en el que parece ser que te va a atacar en el futuro, mientras tú te estás quemando ahora.
Oh my gosh, the deeper we go, at least for here, the deeper I go, it's just like, I know for sure there's nobody else is going to help me out except Jesus in a true sense of the word.
Y sabemos que no hay nadie más que nos pueda ayudar más que Jesús.
Yeah, healing is honesty of God.
Sanar es la honestidad de Dios.
My God. You start to see how tricky it is that ego voice comes in and then we lock on it. You know, it tells us something and then we insist, no, this is right. No, I know. And as soon as that happens, you're dead.
Tenemos que ver cuán engañoso es el ego que te dice algo y nosotros creemos que lo sabemos. Y en cuanto queremos eso, estamos muertos.
Yeah, it's like such a, you know, you have these moments where, you know, it kind of penetrates the dream where we allow that, you know, we could be wrong to come into the dream and show us, oh, I'm really wrong.
Tenemos estos momentos en que estamos dispuestos a ver que hemos estado equivocados en el sueño.
You know, and I'm typing chapter 20 and I'm looking with them at all the desires.
Cuando estaba escribiendo el capítulo 20 y viendo todos estos deseos,
and you can hear it 100,000 times. Okay, you're light. That's all there is light.
tú puedes escucharlo 1000 veces. Eres luz y todo lo que hay es luz.
And you can go, okay, the light is here. Yeah, the holy instant's here. Yes.
Que la luz está aquí, el instante santo está aquí. Sí.
That I could see the trick, like he was showing me, was so helpful, the trick of thinking that death is death of a body.
Y estaba tan engañada al creer que la muerte es la muerte del cuerpo.
See that how it kind of, that's part of the avoidance, to see the death is death polite right here, right now.
La evasión es no ver que esta muerte es aquí y ahora.
Every single twitch, anything happens in form and you got the slightest contraction, that is relishing hell. You can ask them.
Hasta la más mínima contracción es una expresión del infierno. Puedes preguntarle.
And there's just times, boy, you just look at that and go, I don't want to even have any looking at that to look and see that every twitch is hell. That can't possibly be true.
Y queremos que no queremos mirar esto. No queremos ver que sea posible que esto sea cierto.
But heaven is admitting that. It's just going, oh my gosh, I want to have cause, an effect. Something seemed to cause me to twitch and then I love it.
Hasta que quiero reconocer esto es el cielo, porque tenemos que admitir que hemos estado invirtiendo causa y efecto, que algo me está haciendo algo a mí.
And
que eso nos encanta.
Just being with him, because he says, you know, he'll say in here, how many times did he say it? And then I have to go through chapter 20 line by line with him to finally go, oh, that's what it is.
¿Cuántas veces tenemos que ver esto? Yo lo he visto muchas veces en el capítulo 20 para poder decir, eso era.
I one of these, I need to go through this. Jesus, no, he says it's not helpful. Okay, I won't do it. You know, it just occurs, how many times does he have to say, you really love it, you relish it, you want it. It's the wish. You wish for something other than heaven.
¿Cuántas veces nos ha dicho, tienes que admitir que lo quieres, que lo deseas? Algo distinto del cielo.
He said, you can just ask me. Okay, it's hundreds of times. He says, it's hundreds of times. He says in this book, you really want this experience.
Lo dice cientos de veces en este libro. ¿Tú quieres realmente esta experiencia?
So the question is, Jesus, are we healing is admitting we don't want to be healed?
Tenemos que preguntarle a Jesús si la curación es admitir que no queremos ser curados.
And just seeing the relishing of being unhealed.
Y ver el disfrute de querer no estar sano.
And even one thought that healing occurs in the future is unhealed.
Incluso un pensamiento de que la curación ocurre en el futuro es falta de sanación.
Healing is now.
La curación es ahora.
It's only accepting right here, right now, all the love the Father has through a miracle.
Es aceptar aquí y ahora todo el amor que el Padre tiene.
And it's been so helpful lately. He keeps reminding me about, we're so busy, because I could see the consciousness was getting involved, like in miracles and witch corrections, like, oh, I've got this twitch over here and I've got this pain over there, and you kind of chase pain or you chase some problem around like that.
La conciencia le encanta como este juego de tratar de indagar en el dolor o en la enfermedad o en el twitch. Como querer entender el milagro.
That's part of the rat race, the little rat seek and do not find.
Eso es una parte del juego, buscar lo que no puedes encontrar.
But it is at least a willingness to look for miracles. So we're starting to turn in, we're starting to turn in to look for miracles.
Pero tenemos la disposición de empezar a buscar los milagros, a pedir los milagros.
Healing, you start to realize that healing is accomplished by following his guidance in what healing is and having no idea what it is.
La curación se logra al hacer lo que él nos dice y reconocer que no tenemos idea de lo que es.
And so this morning, he's reminding me, we seemingly have miracles. First of all, they have to be guided by him. Jesus, do I look at this, whatever it is appearing?
Me está recordando, como lo hacemos en la mañana, que le preguntamos a Jesús, ¿qué es lo que tenemos que mirar?
See, is that what's most helpful for healing the mind?
Le preguntamos y chequeamos si es que eso es lo más útil para la sanación.
Because the ego is because consciousness is throwing out things to react to all the time. Like that.
Porque la conciencia está arrojando muchas situaciones para reaccionar todo el tiempo.
It's accomplished by following him. I'm not reading a lot. By listening and following him and let him guide which miracles are most helpful to perform right now.
Entonces, escucharlo y seguirlo para ver qué milagros obrar.
What a powerful thing in the light circles where we get after these sessions and we all ask him, Jesus, show us right here, right now, which miracle, what do we need to look at?
Es poderoso esto. En los círculos de luz le preguntamos entre todos, Jesús, ¿qué debemos mirar?
And then letting him, okay, do we go deeper? He just guides the whole thing.
Le preguntamos si tenemos que ir más profundo. Él va guiando todo el proceso.
And then everyone practices, okay, what is Jesus saying about what to look at and where do we go next?
Y la práctica, el proceso es decirle ya, ¿cómo miramos más profundo? ¿Qué viene ahora?
So then today, he's been reminding me of this. We don't, first of all, that was like a little, when he was showing me, you don't even know when you've had a miracle.
Y me está recordando que ni siquiera sabes cuando recibes el milagro.
We're so unfamiliar with divine infinite love. Ask him. You ask him. So you see, Jesus, I'm having miracles and I'm not even.
Estamos tan poco familiarizados con el poder divino que ni siquiera reconocemos esto. Pueden preguntarle.
Just ask him, do I always recognize that I've had a miracle? Hear the no.
Reconozco cuando tengo un milagro y escucho el no.
And we also don't even know when we don't want a miracle. He's got to tell us that too. How about that?
Y también él nos dice cuando no queremos un milagro.
So he was just having us sit with the miracle, focus on the miracle, get to know that, did I have a miracle, Jesus? Let me just be with the miracle.
Y es como permitir que permitirnos quedarnos con el milagro.
So the mind's so used to focusing on what's horrible happening and this is going to happen next, and then I'm going to die, and all this little mind noise. And then you realize, okay, thousands of miracles. Sometimes you think you can't forgive another thing.
La conciencia le encanta creer que no puede alcanzar el milagro y que tiene que buscarlo después en el futuro.
But Jesus fixes that immediately to show you that you have lots more to forgive, but it's good. It's a good thing.
Y Jesús nos muestra de inmediato que siempre hay más que perdonar.
But to really, I just ask them, you're the miracle. Like, do we even spend even a second going, okay, staying with the miracle that you've received?
Que dice que tú eres el milagro, que hay que a veces no queremos ni siquiera pasar un segundo con el milagro. Tenemos que recibirlo simplemente.
And it's like, wow, it's like, then you just stay with the miracle. It's like, my God, that points up to God.
Cuando nos quedamos con el milagro, podemos reconocer que esto apunta a Dios.
That's revelatory right there. It's just like, there's no separation.
Es una experiencia revelatoria, no hay separación.
Like Michael says, I'm one with God when I'm staying with the miracle.
Michael decía, soy uno con Dios cuando estoy en el milagro.
See, and then you just stay with those, and eventually you admit, I can't wait a minute. I can't be apart from God. That's just not possible.
Hasta que en un momento podamos decir, espera un momento, no puedo estar separado de Dios, no es posible.
Healing happens when you're willing to accept it.
La curación ocurre cuando estás dispuesto a aceptar esto.
It's not the healing that's the problem. It's I don't want any. I saying, no, I don't want to be healed.
No es la curación el problema, es que no queremos.
Making exceptions to miracles, order of difficulty of miracles.
Haciendo excepciones a través de los niveles de dificultad. Grado de dificultad.
He's saying it's more than that. It's flat out not even wanting them.
Dice, más que eso, sino que no quiere mirarlos.
He's always right. Okay. And what in this insane conviction does healing stand for? That is going to be number 2.
Ok. ¿Y qué representa la curación dentro de esta loca convicción?
Okay, so we're looking at how is healing accomplished in the teacher's manual.
Estamos viendo cómo se logra la curación en el manual para el maestro.
It symbolizes the defeat of God's Son and the triumph of his Father over him.
Simboliza la derrota del Hijo de Dios y el triunfo de su Padre sobre él.
Okay, let's go for it. Jesus, do I believe that being healed, I'll be defeated?
Ok, Jesús, creo que al ser sanado seré derrotado.
That's honesty of God. It just really admitting it when you look at a sentence with him and go, oh, it's right. I feel like God's going to triumph over me if I accept healing.
Es la honestidad de Dios, estar dispuesto a aceptar que Él tiene razón.
It represents the ultimate defiance in a direct form, which the Son of God is forced to recognize.
Representa el desafío supremo en forma directa que el Hijo se ve forzado a aceptar.
Ultimate defiance.
El desafío supremo.
Jesus, do I relish defying God?
Jesús, disfruto desafiar a Dios.
See, until that scene, that's why he's putting it here, until it's really seen the relishing of defying God, how much that's relished.
Tiene que mostrarnos cuánto disfrutamos esto de desafiar a Dios.
Its face of innocence cannot be transcended.
La cara de la inocencia no puede ser trascendida.
Yeah, you won't be willing to hear him clearly.
No estarás dispuesto a escucharlo
He's saying
claramente.
no. There's just no, because the defiance will be in play. You want to be constantly defying his guidance.
Porque quiere estar constantemente desafiando su guía.
It represents the ultimate defiance in a direct form over him. An ultimate defiance.
Representa el desafío supremo en forma directa que el Hijo se ve forzado a aceptar.
It stands for all that he would hide from himself to protect his life.
representa todo lo que él se ocultaría a sí mismo para proteger su vida.
This is a guarded fortress.
Este es como un fuerte blindado.
This is a guarded fortress. This defiance of God.
Esta defensa contra Dios.
Yeah, and until that's seen through directly all the way, you won't be able to hear him. No, you won't want to. See, it's not that you can't hear, it's that he just says you just don't want to hear him.
Hasta que veas, hasta que estés dispuesto a ver esto, no vas a reconocer que no quieres escucharlo.
The play is to keep the defiance. See, there's a sense of belief that there's power in being defiant.
Entonces la creencia es que uno está haciendo un desafío.
Just ask him, Jesus, does the ego think it's great fun to defy God?
Pregúntale, ¿el ego cree que es divertido desafiar a Dios?
Does the ego derive pleasure in defying God?
¿El ego tiene placer en desafiar a Dios?
And then when you start to really, for here, it's like, oh my gosh, I do, you just be with the relishing of it. Oh my gosh, I just absolutely got pure, unadulterated pleasure in that.
Y empezamos a reconocer que sentimos este disfrute, este placer en esto.
And we know pleasure and pain is the same, so it's relishing pain.
Y sabemos que placer y dolor son lo mismo, así que estamos escogiendo el dolor.
Yeah, I'm talking about how there's nothing the ego enjoys more than trying to make pleasure and pain different things.
Me muestra que no hay nada que el ego disfrute más que confundir placer y dolor.
The play is that I can seek pleasure and avoid pain.
El juego es que puedo pretender buscar placer sin dolor.
When they're both seeking pleasure and pain to keep the denial. See, the joy, light doesn't know what pleasure is. It's just doesn't know what that is.
Porque la luz no sabe lo que es el placer ni el dolor.
In honesty in God, in the light of divine being, does divine being actually know what pleasure is?
En honestidad de Dios, la luz sabe lo que es el placer.
It's like, does it know what pain is?
¿Sabe lo que es el dolor?
So we're always asking, instead of the light of divine being, we're always trusting the ego.
Así que estamos todos como confiando en el ego en vez de la honestidad, el ser divino.
Because consciousness is the desire. It just likes the play of saying no to God.
Porque la conciencia es el juego de decirle que no a Dios. Oh, here we go. Oh yeah, protecting his life. Quote unquote Proteger su
life.
vida, entre comillas.
See, life, the big L, is unprotectable because it's what is.
La vida con B larga no necesita protección porque solo es.
The big L is giving and receiving as one. It just gives and receives. That's the nature of the big L life. It's always in communion with itself.
Esta es la naturaleza de esta vida, es que siempre da y recibir, y que dar y recibir es lo mismo, en perfecta comunión.
So, he starts us out looking for that holy instant, that instant of seeing that there's something we may not admit. The play is not to admit that light that's always here is us.
El juego es no querer admitir que la luz siempre está aquí y que somos nosotros.
And not to admit that light is life itself.
No admitir que esa luz es la luz de mi ser.
That light is what we are.
Que esa luz es lo que somos.
But instead, in the play of the dream and the little dream puppet, it's going to pretend like life is going to be protected. There's some life in a body or life in a bird flying by.
Pero en el sueño, el títere va a creer que tiene que proteger una vida en un cuerpo.
But we have to be honest and ask him, Jesus, is there life in that bird flying by?
Tenemos que ser honestos con Jesús, preguntarle, por ejemplo, ¿hay vida en un pájaro volando?
Is there any life in this body?
¿Hay vida en un cuerpo?
No, the body's not alive.
No, el cuerpo no es la vida.
Okay. Here's the core. I'm asking Jesus, the core piece. If he is healed, he is responsible for his thoughts.
Si se cura, él es responsable de sus pensamientos.
And that's the argument. I do not want to be responsible for my thoughts.
Y esa es la razón que nos damos. Yo no quiero ser responsable de mis pensamientos.
I do not want to see that I am responsible for my thoughts.
No quiero ver que soy responsable de mis pensamientos.
This would be a short book.
Esto podría ser un libro muy corto.
See, if the ego was willing to be responsible, you don't have to spend any time in this book.
Si el ego estuviese dispuesto a ser responsable, no necesitarías pasar tanto tiempo en este libro.
This book is to show us how much the play of consciousness does not want to take responsibility for the thoughts.
El juego de la conciencia es no querer ser responsables de nuestros pensamientos.
To see that they're relished, that they're protected.
No ver que lo disfrutamos, que lo protegemos.
So that's what we have to see. The only way to take responsibility for your thought is to be open enough to Jesus keep showing you that you don't want to be responsible for them.
La única manera de ver es que no queremos, que Jesús nos muestre que no queremos ser responsables.
You know, and you get those, and we've talked about it, like you feel like you're in a swarm, a beehive swarm of thoughts, you know, and they're stinging you. Bzzz.
Y siente como si fueran mosquitos los pensamientos.
It's like the last thing we want to do is admit, oh my gosh, I'm relishing that.
Lo último que queremos admitir es que lo estamos disfrutando.
That's when you get to real honesty of God. When you go, Jesus, do I relish actually having all these bees stinging? Bzzz. Am I loving every minute of that? And hear him say yes.
Jesús, disfrutamos tener todo el tiempo estos mosquitos en nuestra cara.
See, the only way out, there is no other way out than to take responsibility for thoughts. There isn't.
La única salida es tomar responsabilidad de los pensamientos. No hay otra.
Jesus, please tell me, you know, I mean, I don't want him to tell me something. I want him to tell me the dead on truth. There is no other way than taking responsibility for thought.
No hay ninguna otra manera que tomar responsabilidad de los pensamientos.
But it's happiness. See, that's supreme happiness, because then you're the happy learner to see how those thoughts are unreal.
Pero esa es la felicidad, reconocer que estos pensamientos son irreales.
That we're not some little weak something, little tiny thing. We're everything.
Que no hay algo ahí pequeño. Somos todo.
All that is in totality right now, unchanged.
Todo lo que es en la totalidad ahora.
But like a thought goes, we don't even let those thoughts, you know, there's thoughts. You know, they go by, but we have to, you know, grab them and try to poke our eyes out with them.
Y todos estos pensamientos aparecen y tratamos de expulsarlos a la fuerza.
Just ask Jesus, do I just love you know, doing that with thoughts? Ask him.
Me encanta hacer eso con los pensamientos, pregúntale.
And, you know, and then we're fighting him. No, Jesus, don't take that scissors away. I'm going to fight. No, don't take it. And that's what we're fighting him over.
Y decimos a Jesús, no me quites las tijeras, queremos luchar.
Jesus, are we fighting you to keep thought?
Jesús, estamos luchando por mantener los pensamientos.
Oh, okay, it'll be a long awakening, the longer that we fight him for thought.
Será un largo despertar mientras estemos luchando contra los pensamientos.
See, he's just encouraging us. Healing is admitting you're the power plant for illness.
La sanación es admitir que tú eres la fuente del proceso.
Whatever appears,
Cada vez que aparezca.
Oh my gosh, it's very worthwhile spending as much time with Jesus with the relishing of not wanting to be responsible for my thoughts.
Tenemos que pasar mucho tiempo para ver el deseo de no asumir la responsabilidad de nuestros pensamientos.
He's talking about the last unanswered question. If you're not willing to be responsible for your thoughts, then you'll never be able to say yes to the last unanswered question.
Me está hablando de la última pregunta sin responder. Que si no quieres ser responsable de tus pensamientos, nunca vas a responder que sí a la pregunta.
Because that's full responsibility for accepting the correction. See, it's everything.
Porque es completa responsabilidad por aceptar la corrección.
It's willing to see everything Jesus would show us about the delusion.
Es estar dispuestos a que Jesús nos muestre todo sobre el engaño.
And if he is responsible for his thoughts, he will be killed to prove to him how weak and pitiful he is.
Y si es responsable de sus pensamientos, será destruido a fin de demostrarle cuán débil y miserable era.
I'm talking to Jesus about this sentence. It's like, if you just see that, if we're willing to see that with him so clearly, oh my gosh, you'll see how the ego plays to convince you not to be responsible for your thoughts so you can be dead again.
Es tan importante ver esto que podamos admitir que no queremos ser responsables. Si lo fuéramos, como que acabaría este juego.
See, being responsible for your thought is everlasting life, gateway to heaven.
Ser responsable de nuestros pensamientos es el camino al cielo.
So the ego is going to have to play that. Is if I'm responsible, see, then I'm going to die. I'm going to die, when it's the gateway to life.
Y el ego cree que si es responsable va a morir.
The big L, straight up, going to heaven, L. Wow. But if he chooses death himself, his weakness is his strength.
Mas si él mismo elige la muerte, su debilidad se convierte en su fuerza.
Now he has given himself what God would give to him, and thus entirely usurped the throne of his creator.
Ahora se ha impuesto a sí mismo lo que Dios le habría impuesto, y de esta forma ha usurpado completamente el trono de su creador.
So now we can just put those together and just go, Jesus is not being willing to take responsibility for my thoughts, usurping the throne of my creator.
Jesús, no asumir responsabilidad por mis pensamientos, es asumir el trono del creador.
Is that relishing giving God the boot out of my awareness?
Es disfrutar expulsarlo de nuestra conciencia.
You can ask Jesus and hear the yes.
Puedes preguntar a Jesús y escuchar el sí.
See, it's totally confusing weakness with powerfulness. Feeling like you're powerful. I can usurp God. I'm not going to look at these thoughts.
Y la confusión entre debilidad y poder. No quiero mirar estos pensamientos.
It's going to do everything in the play because the play likes death so much not to listen to Jesus, because he's going to lead us right into life.
El juego es no querer seguir a Jesús porque él nos va a llevar directo a la luz.
The shift in perception.
Un cambio de percepción.
Okay. As always, he's giving us some really important things to look at.
Él nos está dando material bien importante para ver.
So he tells us that a miracle is a change in perception.
Él nos dice que un milagro es un cambio de percepción.
The perception that we're holding on to has more value than God.
El pensamiento de que tenemos un valor valoramos algo más que Dios.
So now he's getting very specific about that.
Ahora va a ser muy específico sobre esto.
Healing must occur in the exact proportion to which the valuelessness of sickness is recognized.
La curación es directamente proporcional al grado de reconocimiento alcanzado con respecto a la falta de valor de la enfermedad.
So we'll be just so direct with Jesus and go, Jesus, am I valuing sickness?
Entonces le decimos a Jesús, ¿estoy valorando la enfermedad?
We can never heal as long as we're valuing the sickness.
No podrás sanar mientras valores la enfermedad.
This is why it's so, speaking of valuable, these light circles are so valuable, because he's bringing us in the places of the mind where we're valuing sickness.
Él nos está mostrando en estos círculos dónde estamos valorando la enfermedad.
See, we call it the flip in the mind. The mind goes from being upside down to right side up toward heaven as soon as it's recognized that what we were holding on to truly has no value for us.
Esta es la inversión. Estamos mostrando, buscando que Él nos enseñe que estamos valorando lo contrario de lo que deberíamos valorar.
It's finally admitting that what we thought we were holding on to has no value, and we cease to value it.
Es admitir que el pensamiento al que nos estamos aferrando ya no tiene valor.
We cease to value the dream over infinite.
Dejar de valorar el sueño sobre lo infinito.
The meaningless over all that is.
Lo que no tiene significado por sobre lo que es.
One need but say, there is no gain at all to me in this.
Solo con decir, con esto no gano nada, uno se curaría.
That's accepting the miracles, merely to say there's no gain to me in saying no to miracles.
Y eso es solo un milagro, es decir, No gano nada con no aceptar un milagro.
See, as long as we're thinking there's in below the level of awareness something that says sickness is valuable, it will be experienced.
Mientras en el nivel inconsciente creamos que la enfermedad es valiosa, va a experimentarse.
But until we take full responsibility for thought,
Pero en cuanto asumimos completa responsabilidad de los pensamientos,
full responsibility for honesty of God, it's just being so self-honest, 100%, like no exceptions.
completa responsabilidad o completa honestidad de Dios sin hacer ninguna excepción.
See, otherwise we're keeping pockets of unhealed mind.
De otra manera estamos reteniendo bolsillos ocultos en la mente.
Here we go. But to say this, one first must recognize certain facts.
Pero antes de uno poder decir esto, es preciso reconocer ciertos hechos.
That's it. That's what Jesus, the ego would rather hide in a closet than recognize these facts.
Le digo a Jesús, el ego prefiere esconderse en el closet antes que reconocer esto.
First, it is obvious that decisions are of the mind and not of the body.
En primer lugar, resulta obvio que las decisiones son algo propio de la mente, no del cuerpo.
Yeah, that's why it's so helpful to see what a magic treatment of the body is. It's a trick, using magic with the body.
Tenemos que ver que es un truco, usar magia con el cuerpo.
I'm talking about, yes, it's a refusal to accept that decisions are of the mind. Using magic on the body is refusal to accept that it's a decision in mind.
Usar la magia en el cuerpo es rehusarse a ver que es una decisión de la mente.
It's a trick for how the mind searches outside itself for a solution.
Es un truco que la mente busque soluciones afuera.
It's like, oh, I can relax now because it's not, it's not a decision in my mind. It's the solutions out there in some kind of form can heal me.
Es como decir, oh, ahora sí puedo estar más tranquilo porque algo de la forma me está sanando.
If sickness is but a faulty problem-solving approach, it is a decision.
Si la enfermedad no es más que un enfoque defectuoso de solventar problemas, tiene que ser entonces una decisión.
Yeah, I'm talking to him about it is simply sickness is a decision for an experience of sickness.
Lo dice simple. La enfermedad es una decisión de una experiencia de enfermedad.
There's no way to get around that. It's not taking unwillingness to take full responsibility for the mind. And Jesus says yes.
Es la falta de disposición de asumir completa responsabilidad por la mente, y Jesús dice sí.
The resistance to recognizing this is enormous because the existence of the world as you perceive it depends on the body being the decision maker.
La resistencia a reconocer este hecho es enorme, ya que la existencia del mundo, tal como lo percibes, depende de que sea el cuerpo el que toma las decisiones.
That is why it is so, in order to break the habit of the perception that the body is a decision maker, that delusion,
tenemos que romper la creencia de que el cuerpo elige las enfermedades, que ese es un engaño.
we have to let him make our decisions for us because one, the play of consciousness is to believe that decisions are real.
El juego de la conciencia es creer que las decisiones son reales.
And two, he's telling me directly, see, by following him, it uncouples this idea, this concept that the body is a decision, makes the decisions.
Y él deshace esta idea de que el cuerpo toma decisiones.
See, yes, I'm talking about how if there's illness or pain in the body, there is still belief that a body is a decision maker. He says yes.
El dolor en el cuerpo es un indicativo de que el cuerpo es el que toma las decisiones, y dice sí.
See, if the body can be the decision maker, see, it's not my fault. The body's just deciding to do what it's going to do.
Es como que si no fuera mi responsabilidad, el cuerpo está tomando decisiones.
And then I don't have to look into my mind to see that I'm making the decision to have that experience.
Luego miro en mi mente que he tomado la decisión de esa experiencia.
Terms like instincts, reflexes, and the like represent attempts to endow the body with non-mental motives.
Términos tales como instintos, reflejos y otros similares representan intentos de dotar al cuerpo con motivadores no mentales.
See, that's the way the perception can play to feel really helpless. See, like when it just seems so fast, right? I have a reflex and then bing, I'm just going to react to it. It's just the reactions are reflexive and they're so fast, there's nothing we can do about it.
Es un juego de la conciencia de creer que hay reflejos, que el cuerpo hace algo y que yo no puedo hacer nada al respecto.
But, because that's just what the body's doing.
Solo porque el cuerpo es el que hace eso.
Yeah, he's reminding me about the story of the two monks they're in the courtyard and they're arguing.
Me está recordando unos dos monjes que estaban discutiendo.
And the first one, there's a flag on a flagpole, and the first one goes, the wind moved the flag.
Y uno movió una bandera.
The other one just said, well, the flag moved.
Y el otro dijo, la bandera se movió.
Of course, the master comes walking through and says, your mind moved.
Y después llegó el maestro y dijo, tu mente la movió.
That's what when I see it's a movement in consciousness. It's a play in consciousness.
No queremos ver que es un movimiento en la conciencia.
It's a concept. It's a concept that the flag.
Es un concepto de la bandera.
It's good to get miracles on these concepts. Okay. Actually, such terms merely state or describe the problem. They do not answer it.
En realidad, tales términos no hacen más que enunciar o describir el problema, pero no lo resuelven.
It's just like those two guys in the courtyard. They're arguing over perception. See, I perceive the wind move the flag.
Como estas dos personas que están hablando sobre la percepción. Yo percibo que la bandera se mueve.
I perceive that the flag moves. Anytime you're arguing about perception, I'm asking Jesus, you're definitely in hell.
Cada vez que estás discutiendo sobre la percepción, definitivamente estás en el infierno.
How many arguments is it possible to get over? This is the best sunset ever. No, it's not. It's like,
como discusiones tipo, este es el amanecer más hermoso. No es el más hermoso.
They do not answer it because the answer is only in taking responsibility for the thoughts.
No es la respuesta porque la única respuesta es ser responsable de nuestros pensamientos.
The acceptance of sickness is decision of the mind.
La base fundamental de la curación es la aceptación del hecho de que la enfermedad es una decisión que la mente ha tomado.
For a purpose for which it would use the body is the basis of healing.
Where are you?
The acceptance of sickness is a decision of the mind for a purpose for which it would use the body is the basis of healing.
Okay. 2. La base fundamental de la curación es la aceptación del hecho de que la enfermedad es solo una decisión que la mente ha tomado a fin de lograr un propósito para el cual se vale del cuerpo.
And this is so for healing in all forms.
Y esto es cierto con respecto a cualquier clase de curación.
A patient decides that this is so and he recovers.
El paciente que acepta esto se recupera.
Oh man, he was just showing me that today.
Él me estaba mostrando esto hoy día.
The mind is so powerful. Do you see that consciousness can make a body look ill and then it can make a body look better.
La conciencia es tan poderosa que puede hacer que un cuerpo parezca enfermo y luego que se mejore.
Oh my gosh, without any healing occurring whatsoever in the mind.
Sin que ninguna curación ocurra en la mente.
Yeah, ask Jesus.
Pregúntale a Jesús.
Yeah. So he's really pointing to how the only way to heal from sickness, quote unquote, the sickness is wrong-mindedness.
La enfermedad es mente errada.
Muji calls it person poison.
Muji le dice el veneno, persona venenosa.
It's a person poison.
Una persona venenosa.
Decision to be a person rather than all that is.
La decisión de ser una persona en vez de lo que es.
But this is such a gift that he gives us in A Course in Miracles to see that we're far, far more powerful than the play in consciousness.
Este es un regalo que él nos da para reconocer el poder que tenemos y el juego de la conciencia.
Because the ego relishes feel like the body has some kind of control over its happiness. It loves that. Ask Jesus.
Porque disfrutamos creer que que el cuerpo tiene un poder sobre la mente.
It relishes being held hostage by all kinds of body symptoms. Ask them.
Disfrutamos ser rehenes del infierno a través de los síntomas.
Here's honesty of God. In the light of divine being Jesus, do I really relish body symptoms and being held hostage by him?
En la luz del ser divino, ¿realmente disfruto ser un rehén?
See, that's when we really get to that honesty that's needed to see how it's all in the mind, a decision in the mind for any kind of body symptom.
Y esta es la honestidad de Dios, ver que es una decisión de la mente.
You know, and yeah, we have to take responsibility for the mind. There isn't another way.
Tenemos que tomar responsabilidad de la mente, no hay otra forma.
If he decides against recovery, he'll not be healed.
Si se decide en contra de la recuperación, no sanará.
He's really putting it in squarely in the court of being in the mind, what healing is. It's a choice. It's a choice to no longer be sick.
Él está poniendo muy claro que la enfermedad, y que esto es una decisión de la mente. La enfermedad, la mente decide no estar enferma.
Yeah, but this is really profound when he's shown me like how the symptoms can come and go, but there's no healing that occurred. That's deep.
Y eso me muestra tan profundo que los síntomas a veces parecen ir y venir, pero no hay una curación.
See, the ego loves that. I'm going to be sick for a while, you know, and oh, I'm going to heal. Then it sneaks under the subconscious mind. Then it pops out. Instead of looking like a headache, it can look like, I don't know, your feet are burning.
Es como la conciencia le encanta este juego de que voy a estar sano ahora, después un tiempo enfermo, y después lo oculto debajo de la conciencia.
It is such an opportunity like to turn in and go, I mean, I'm just going to look at everything having to do with any symptom showing up in my body that Jesus directs me, first of all.
Hay que estar dispuesto a que Jesús nos muestre cualquier síntoma del cuerpo.
But at first, he'll be happy to work with you on anything because before we weren't taking responsibility for looking.
Y qué bueno que podamos hacer esto porque podemos tener la responsabilidad de mirar.
And I'm asking about that. That is saying no to the ego. You know, I'm saying, no, I'm not going to be in this pain.
Y eso es decirle que no al ego. Yo no voy a sentir más dolor.
And I see how powerful that is.
Y ver cuán poderoso es.
You know, because I kept working with them on headaches. Okay, Jesus, I have another headache. You know, just no matter what, I'm still going to look at this. I'm going to look at this.
Ok, Jesús, tengo otro dolor de cabeza. No importa lo que suceda, voy a mirarlo.
You know, because otherwise we're kind of just tolerating it.
Porque de otra manera lo vamos a estar tolerando.
We're tolerating our own attack of ourselves is what it is.
Lo estamos tolerando como un ataque a nosotros mismos.
And he's saying, and being held hostage to the body.
Y queremos ser rehenes del cuerpo.
Just seeing them, just relishing it, wanting it.
Que lo disfrutamos, lo queremos.
But you just be so determined. That's the experience here. It's just, no, I'm going to look at everything, any twitch. And if he's willing, he says it's something for me to look at, I'm going to look at it, and I'm looking at it all the way.
Y hay que mirar, como estar dispuesto a mirar todo el camino junto a Jesús.
And he says, you'll see the power that comes with that, for sure.
Y tú verás el poder que viene de aquí, te lo aseguro.
I am not going to, and David talks about it too, when he was really sick one time, he's like throwing up, he was coming out of all areas.
David también hablaba de esto cuando estuvo enfermo un tiempo.
And he just said it flat out no, and it just stopped.
Y él dijo que en un momento se detuvo cuando él lo eligió.
But you can ask him, Jesus, do I believe I'm powerful enough to do that? See, if you have doubts about it, you won't step into it.
Pero le podemos preguntar a Jesús, ¿creo que soy lo suficientemente poderoso como para hacer eso?
But in truth, in the honesty of God, do I have the power to do that?
Pero en la honestidad de Dios, ¿tengo el poder de hacerlo?
To say no to any symptom. Hear what he says.
De decirle que no a cualquier síntoma y ve lo que dice.
They only appear through we collude with ourselves to keep them coming. Keep them coming, Jesus, so I can be as helpless as possible.
Tenemos que mantenernos atentos a ti para que nos ayudes.
So I can usurp the power of God. Ask him, is that all? So I can just usurp the power of God?
Para que pueda aceptar el poder de Dios.
It's humbling when he says yes.
Es humilde cuando dice sí.
Who is the physician?
¿Quién es el médico?
Only
Entonces,
the mind is of the patient himself.
la mente del propio paciente.
See, the ego relishes healing other. It loves that.
El ego le encanta curar a otros.
There's somebody outside himself to heal.
Que hay alguien afuera para sanar.
Loves it.
Me encanta.
You know, oh, I got all these good tools in Course in Miracles. Now I can go find somebody to help.
Oye, encontré estas buenas herramientas en el curso de milagro, ahora voy a buscar a alguien a quien ayudar.
You can ask him, Jesus, is that denial of myself?
Puedes preguntarle, ¿Jesús es negación de mí mismo?
It's always, whether it's a light circle, whatever, we're always, it's always coming back and going, okay, it's for me, Jesus. What are you trying to show me?
Hay que decirle, Jesús es para mí. ¿Qué me tratas de mostrar a mí?
What are you telling me that I need to see?
¿Qué me muestras a mí que yo necesito ver?
Here, right here. What do I need to see in this?
A mí, que yo necesito ver en esto.
Who, we have to admit who the physician is. That's another thing.
Tenemos que admitir quién es el médico y el paciente.
Jesus, am I willing to admit that I am the physician?
Estoy,
No.
¿Estoy dispuesto a admitir que yo soy el médico? No.
Am I willing to admit I am the physician?
¿Estoy dispuesto a admitir que yo soy el médico?
But here's what's great. You go with him because you're talking to him. So you just had a conversation with Jesus. You just asked him and he told you you're not willing to admit it. That's honesty of God.
Y tú vas con Jesús y le dices para que Él te muestre cuando no estás dispuesto a admitirlo.
You just start there and go, Jesus, I admit I am not willing to see that I am the physician.
Jesús, estoy dispuesto a admitir que no quiero reconocer que soy el médico.
That's the good place to start.
Eso es un buen lugar para mirar.
Okay, now, I'm not willing to admit it. Will you help me see that I am it?
No estoy dispuesto a admitirlo, así que ayúdame.
And then he has a little space to start getting in there and getting deeper and deeper self-honesty about not wanting to take responsibility for the mind.
Y luego vamos profundizando en la honestidad de no querer ser sanados.
Yeah, I'm talking to him about all illness is not wanting to take responsibility for the mind.
Cualquier enfermedad es no querer asumir responsabilidad de la mente.
So that doesn't mean you call your mother up in the hospital and say, you know, Mom, you're not taking responsibility for the mind.
Eso no quiere decir que llamas a tu mamá en el hospital y le digas, oye, no estás tomando responsabilidad de tu mente.
It's where am I unwilling to take responsibility for my mind?
Es Jesús donde yo voy a tomar responsabilidad de mi mente.
It can only happen here. And then you see there's no one to heal.
Todo ocurre aquí y luego verás que no hay nadie a quien sanar.
It's all just love.
Todo es amor.
But boy, that itch, it's like this itch to be a healer. So much itch in that. Ask them, Jesus, is there just an itch? Because it's a distraction from accepting the physician, heal thyself.
Es tan atractivo querer ser un sanador porque es una distracción de sanarse a sí mismo.
And you'll just watch it. You know, the more we take responsibility for thoughts, you just see how it's just this itch. You got to find somebody to fix.
Es esta atracción por buscar a alguien a quien arreglar.
You know, who am I going to fix next? I can see.
¿A quién voy a arreglar ahora?
You know, that coaching was really helpful, but it had to be put away for a while.
El coaching fue bien útil, pero hay que ponerlo de lado por un tiempo.
Jesus said it was maximized. It was maximized all the learning I could get that he could teach me so that I would be willing to go inside with him.
Y Jesús lo usó para enseñarme y ahora estaba dispuesta a que me enseñara dentro.
Just put it 100% on the table and say, okay, I'm going to be the patient. I'm the patient now.
Poniéndolo 100% en la mesa y decir, ya, voy a ser el paciente ahora.
I'm in psychotherapy with Jesus.
Estoy en psicoterapia con Jesús.
He is the only psychotherapist, and my brother too is a psychotherapist too. If you're in these light circles, he'll help.
Jesús es el psicoterapeuta y tu hermano en los círculos.
But only as guided by Jesus.
Solamente guiado por Jesús.
Taking responsibility for the mind, he says, as we've been talking about, you hear his voice.
Tomar responsabilidad de la mente es escuchar su voz,
you speak his voice,
hablar su voz
and you follow his voice 100%.
y seguir su voz completamente.
The outcome is what he decides that it is.
El resultado acabará siendo el que él decida.
Special agents seem to be ministering to him, yet they but give form to his own choice.
Agentes especiales parecen atenderle, sin embargo no hacen otra cosa que dar forma a su elección.
Just let's be honest, Jesus, is it my choice to have symptoms or body symptoms?
Preguntémosle a
Yes or
Jesús,
no?
¿es mi decisión tener síntomas corporales?
Now, he's reminding me, you may go and function with joining session, but joining sessions are only, it's not to heal someone else. Like if you're on Joining Express, it's not to heal someone else.
La sanación no es para sanar a alguien más.
Miracles never go horizontal. It's not, they don't work that way.
Los milagros nunca son horizontales, no funciona de esa forma.
That's why he makes a big distinction between time and space rearrangements and miracles.
Por eso él hace una distinción entre arreglos de tiempo y espacio y milagros.
Because the ego calls changes in form miracles.
Porque el ego le llama a los milagros cambios en la forma.
Changes in form are never miracles.
Los cambios en la forma nunca son milagros.
They're time and space rearrangements.
Son arreglos del tiempo y el espacio.
A miracle is a change in a perception that saying no to God has value.
El milagro es un cambio en la percepción de que decirle que no a Dios es valioso.
They're accepting the expression of all the love of the Father.
Es aceptar la expresión de todo el amor del Padre.
Okay, so it can't be the same thing as a change in form. Change in forms merely reflect a purified mind.
El cambio en la forma es un reflejo de la purificación de la mente.
See, we always go to Jesus. Oh, Jesus, can you stop this headache?
A veces le decimos a Jesús, ¿puedes detener este dolor de cabeza?
No, he just says, I can reveal to you in your willingness the underlying conditions that brought it about.
No, yo te puedo revelar las condiciones donde lo generaste.
So he can reveal it. He can reveal the desired experience.
Él puede revelar la experiencia deseada.
So taking responsibility for the mind is opening the mind to be shown by him where the underlying conditions.
Para que te muestre las condiciones debajo de esto.
And then be willing to say, okay, to see that desire no longer serves. It never has served, but we believe it serves.
Para ver que el deseo ya no sirve para nada, pero creíamos que sí.
We believe that illness is bringing us something, love and peace and joy. We actually believe that.
Creíamos que la enfermedad nos estaba dando algo, paz, amor o alegría.
That we can get more of that out of it than we can get from God.
Que podemos tener más de eso de lo que podemos obtener de Dios.
So the only way the ship can flip over is to look down there with Jesus, see where we're holding on to something and placing value in those desires, and then to release them to a miracle.
Lo único es ver con Jesús dónde estamos deseando esto y liberarnos con milagros.
But you have to go all the way with him. Like he'll so many times. He'll show you, okay, here's a desire.
Él muchas veces nos muestra, ok, aquí está el deseo.
And you have to ask him if you accepted a miracle on that desire, because the ego is going to find a sneaky way to hold on to that.
Tienes que preguntarle si está dispuesto a aceptar un milagro en esto, porque el ego no va a querer.
And just refuse the miracle.
Va a rechazar el milagro.
You have to see it's a choice to refuse miracles.
Tienes que ver que es una elección rechazar milagros.
We're going to go back to this one. Special agents seem to be ministering to him, yet they but give form to his own choice.
Agentes especiales parecen atenderle, sin embargo no hacen otra cosa que dar forma a su elección.
The consciousness makes the pill,
La conciencia hace la pastilla,
decides how it's going to react to it.
decide cómo se va a reaccionar a
So it can
ella.
have an experience that a pill does something.
Entonces tendremos la experiencia de que una pastilla hace algo.
So you can ask Jesus, does a single pill do anything?
Podemos preguntarle a Jesús, ¿una pastilla hace algo?
It's all in the mind. It's a miscreation of mind to believe that it can do something.
Es una fabricación de la mente de creer que puede hacer algo.
He chooses them in order to bring tangible form to his desires.
Los escoge con vistas a darle forma tangible a sus deseos.
And it is this they do and nothing else.
Y eso es lo único que hacen.
It's wish. David calls it wish fulfillment. You're getting your wishes. So here's my wish. I would desire an experience where it seems like I can take a pill and it does something.
Es el deseo de creer que la pastilla va a hacer algo.
It's a placebo effect.
Un efecto placebo.
All the ego is a placebo effect. It's in the mind. See,
Todo el ego es un efecto placebo en la mente.
the pills actually do something.
Que una pastilla puede hacer algo.
The patient would merely rise up without their aid and say, I have no use for this.
El paciente podría sencillamente levantarse sin su ayuda y decir, no tengo ninguna necesidad de esto.
It's just basically saying no to the ego. It's a decision to say no to the ego.
Es la decisión de decirle que no al ego.
The patient would merely rise up without their aid and say, I have no use for this.
El paciente podría sencillamente levantarse sin su ayuda y decir, no tengo ninguna necesidad de esto.
So we can ask Jesus, do we have all the power to say that? I have no use for this, and just walk.
Podemos preguntarle a Jesús, ¿tengo el poder de decir esto que no necesito, no tengo ninguna necesidad y caminar?
See, all that's Jesus was saying to that guy, where in Jesus of Nazareth, where they're all inside St. Peter's house, like before St. Peter was St. Peter.
Eso es lo que estaba pasando cuando Jesús estaba en la película Jesús de Nazaret, estaban en la casa de Pedro.
And it's such a good scene because St. Peter's having a fit. He's going, no, you're tearing up my house. Oh my God, you're all coming in my house.
Bueno, buena escena porque Pedro estaba estresado porque decía, hoy están entrando a mi casa, están llenando mi casa.
Right before a big miracle, the ego's going to start screaming. And
Justo antes de un gran milagro y el ego se pone loco ahí a gritar.
But you can ask him, Jesus was not performing miracles. Those were not miracles. Those are time-space rearrangements.
Y eso no son milagros, son cambios del tiempo y el espacio.
The miracle is just to look at that guy and say, you're more powerful than this, don't sin anymore.
El milagro es decir, tú eres más poderoso que esto.
It's just a demonstration of the power of the mind. Oh, I have no use for it. See y'all later and walk out.
Es una demostración que es de la verdad y demostrar que él puede caminar.
That's what the ego does not want to see. It doesn't want to see we're powerful enough to do that.
Eso es lo que el ego no quiere ver, el poder para hacer esto.
The change in mind is the miracle. The form change is not the miracle.
El cambio en la mente es el milagro, el cambio en la forma no es un milagro.
See, sin no more. Don't walk out.
Él decía, no peques más, camina.
Here we go. There is no form of sickness that would not be cured at once.
No hay ninguna forma de enfermedad que no se curase de inmediato.
Okay, because I'm checking in on that. Does he say there are some forms, there's 1% of forms? Does he have any leeway on this one sentence?
No está haciendo ninguna excepción en esta oración.
There is no form of sickness that would not be cured at once.
No hay ninguna forma de enfermedad que no se curase de inmediato.
So I just ask him, I do a check-in with him and see, is there any doubt in my mind that sentence right there is true?
Me estoy preguntando si hay alguna duda en mi mente de que esto es verdad.
See, your symptoms will reflect that.
Los síntomas van a reflejar esto.
The body symptoms will reflect that.
Los síntomas del cuerpo los reflejarán.
If you have doubts about it, then it'll play in consciousness.
Si tienes dudas sobre esto, el juego de la conciencia lo va a mostrar.
But you can ask them and then work with them until it all clears out. So there's no doubt that sentence is true.
Puedes pedirle que te muestre para que veas que esta oración es verdadera.
Okay. Did we go all the way, Melly? Is that so? Is that complete? Did we go all the way?
Yeah.
Okay. All the way. Jesus says it's complete, man.
Jesús dice que está completo.
So join with your brothers. If any of this was a twitch,
Únanse con sus hermanos si es que cualquiera de estas cosas provocó un conflicto.
if there's one teeniest tiny doubt that this chapter is true, get with a brother and start going it line by line and just tell me, Jesus, and show me where I'm relishing not seeing that this is true.
Si hay cualquier duda que esto sea cierto, unirse y verlo línea por línea con los hermanos.
And then at least we're having a true conversation with Jesus.
Al menos tendremos una conversación honesta con Jesús.
Okay, and there's no don't understand it logically or discuss it. No more discussion. It's like, is this true? Do I believe it?
Sin más discusiones. ¿Es esto cierto, Jesús? Lo creo.
Do I want to avoid seeing this as true, Jesus?
Quiero evadir, ver que esto es cierto, Jesús.
Get up, Lazarus, and walk out of death.
Párate, Lázaro, y sal de la muerte.
Amen.
Amén.
So Christopher, can you sing us a song?
No, not today.
Not going to sing today. Yeah, all Jesus can do is really invite us.
Todo lo que Jesús puede hacer es realmente invitarnos.
He can just invite.
Él solamente nos invita.
You know, it's helpful when we see before the cock crows, he said to St. Peter, you'll deny me 3 times.
Como le decía San Pedro, me vas a negar 3
And
veces.
just see how we deny 1,000 times.
Y hay que ver que lo negamos miles de veces.
By not following the guidance.
Al no seguir la guía.
But we have to see that, you can't deny someone else. You can only deny yourself. So when we're denying guidance, we're just denying ourselves. That's all.
Que simplemente nos podemos negar a nosotros mismos, no podemos negar nada afuera.
We just denied ourselves true happiness, and then we'll have guilt over it.
Podemos negarnos esta felicidad y luego nos vamos a sentir culpables.
He's just trying to save us a lot of guilt.
Él dice que hay un montón de culpa.
By inviting us with these invitations.
Al negar sus invitaciones.
Thank you, Jesus.
Gracias, Jesús.
Love you, Kathy.
Te vamos, Kathy.
Can I ask a question?
¿Puedo hacer una
Yes.
pregunta?
Okay.
Sí.
Okay, so far, whether I'm joining with a brother or just on my own with Jesus, I haven't really gotten anywhere asking those direct questions, about my sickness and what's underneath it and, all that.
Le estaba preguntando en un círculo de luz con mi compañero acerca de mi enfermedad.
Is Jesus saying you haven't gotten anywhere? Because that's not what he's saying to me.
¿What?
Well, I
I
guess
mean,
what I'm
that's
saying
kind of-
is,
Jesus told her she's not getting anywhere, asking her anything.
Le estoy
You have to
preguntando-
ask Jesus about that.
Tiene que preguntarle a Jesús si es que está yendo en alguna parte en esto.
I guess what I'm saying is that it seems like it works better when I just go into a joining session without an agenda, and we just listen for the desire. And so far, but when I go in and I ask about, what I pose the questions that you kind of mentioned in this session. And I don't seem I don't seem to get anywhere as far as seeing or getting in touch with what's underneath it.
Estamos,
So I was just wondering,
estamos preguntándole, hicimos varias preguntas de las que tú mencionas, que hay debajo del nivel consciente.
So just ask him about that.
Pregúntale sobre eso.
Ask him, and what does he tell you?
¿Qué te dice?
that the looking should be directed by him.
Que debería mirarlo directamente con él.
It can, and what I'm hearing too, sometimes there's areas of the mind where we just don't want to hear.
Que a veces hay áreas en nuestra mente que simplemente no queremos oír.
Just sometimes it plays like that.
A veces el juego es así.
So that could be the reason why I feel blocked when I ask those direct questions about my physical condition.
Esa es la razón por la que me bloqueo cuando pido ir más profundo sobre estas condiciones físicas.
I hear yes, and just ask him, Jesus, are you willing to talk? Is that helpful for me to look at those and see what he says?
Escucho sí, y hay que preguntarle a Jesús para ver qué dice.
I feel like he's very willing to look at you with you at those.
Escucho que estás muy dispuesta a mirar esto.
But we have to ask in the right way. We can't ask for remember, he can only reveal the underlying conditions.
Recuerda que él solamente puede revelar.
Yeah, so that's the other thing that I was going to ask was, am I asking the wrong questions?
Quizás estaba preguntando las preguntas equivocadas.
I hear yes. In a way, the questions are to reveal the underlying conditions and really being open to hear the underlying relishing of the experience.
Las preguntas son para revelar la experiencia deseada que hay debajo.
And to see that the experience, just like he says in this chapter, this is very beautiful, Kathy, to be so open to this because it serves the whole so deeply.
Es muy hermoso mirar esto y tan profundamente con él.
But to really, be with that honesty of God and just say, and being so open, because he is so willing to talk to you about all of that. But we have to be willing to see where we're valuing the experience more than God.
Tenemos que estar dispuestos a saber cuánto valoramos esta experiencia más que Dios.
It's just like he said exactly in the chapter. We have to be willing to go with him to see where the value we're placing on it is.
Tenemos que ver dónde estamos poniendo el valor.
That we don't want to see that we're the one choosing it.
Tenemos que ver quién es el que está escogiéndolo.
But it feels like you're really starting to be very open to see that, it's a choice in the mind.
Tenemos que estar abiertos a que esta es una decisión en la mente.
So just keep at it and
I hear yes from him. I do. And just be completely open, because what happens is as soon as we start, if one story starts coming up about what it is, he can help you be very clear. Okay, what specifically about this seemingly symptoms? Where do I even start with the looking at this?
Pero hay que estar muy abiertos, libre de ideas acerca de qué es realmente, para que él nos muestre.
And be really determined, no matter what, you're going to hear what he has to say about it. See, when we're in that, I don't care what happens. The only thing I care about is hearing what Jesus has to say about this. Then we'll hear it for sure.
Es decir, que no me importa nada de lo que pase, solamente lo que Jesús me tiene que decir.
Yeah, I think that feels better. Where do I even start? Because often I don't know where to start with it because it's so complex, or it seems to be.
Yes.
Sí, es muy útil ver esto de dónde empezar, porque me parecía complejo.
I seem to be having, and then just go ahead and just take it on full, whatever he tells you. It's like, okay, you believe whatever he's telling you, because you hear him very clearly, Kathy. That's just very clear.
Porque hay que ver con él hasta que nos lleve, porque tú lo puedes escuchar muy claro, Katy.
We really have to see, he's telling me it's important to see it's not only is it the looking in the circles, but it's also stepping into a higher function and taking on those assignments that he's giving you, whatever they are.
Y es mantenerse en la función, lo que sea que ellos te pidan.
He's saying, yes, it would be really helpful in the light circles to also be with your partner to really start hearing specifically what assignments Jesus is giving you, and then just be determined, I'm going to take them. I don't care what this body's doing. I'm doing it.
Estar decidido a ver con tu compañero, a ver los síntomas y decir, no me importa lo que suceda, lo que haga el cuerpo, lo voy a mirar.
Because then in a way, that's just saying no to that, those symptoms. It's like, no, I'm not, I'm going anyway. I'm going to look, I'm going to do whatever he's asking me to do because he's going to lead me out.
Voy a hacer lo que él me pida, no quiero mirar estos síntomas porque voy a hacer porque él es el que me va a guiar hacia afuera de esto.
Because you can ask him now, Jesus, am I required by you to have one single symptom that I have?
Puedes preguntarle, Jesús, ¿necesito tener algún síntoma de los que tengo?
Yeah, it's like I feel like I'm not getting a clear yes or no because I can sense that there's a doubt that's in the way.
Yes.
Como que no puedo recibir el sí o el no claro porque siento dudas.
Okay, Jesus, which voice is speaking in the doubt? Just say what you heard. What did you hear?
Jesús, ¿qué voz está hablando en la duda?
Well, it's not that I heard. I mean, I actually initially felt more of a yes, but then I was like.
So ask him which voice. Just speak clear. Say which voice. Which voice is your voice?
¿Cuál voz es tu voz?
There's not one symptom that we have.
It's like I can't believe the belief that it can't be that easy is in the way. It's like if it wasn't required by him for me to have this condition, then why does it seem so persistent and impossible?
Es como que no quiero creer que sea tan fácil. ¿Cómo va a ser? Como que es imposible para mí.
Like, why can't it be easier to heal or let go of?
Because we've just got in the habit of wanting it so bad and liking it.
Porque tenemos el hábito de quererlo mucho.
Yeah, and that's what I haven't been able to fully get in touch with is.
Yeah, but you're open to it.
Yes.
You're open to it, and that is the first step to see the responsibility, to take responsibility in the mind. You'll see how powerful that is.
Tienes que ver cuán poderoso es tomar la responsabilidad de tu mente.
Because what I'm getting from him is you're definitely open to start really looking deeply at this and seeing that it is all in the mind.
Estás dispuesta a mirar profundamente que esto es algo de la mente.
And that is really, really powerful, and that's the place to start. Jesus, could I be wrong that it really is as easy as you're saying right here? You just get up and Lazarus get up and walk out.
Jesús, realmente es fácil y esto es verdad lo que dices tú, tal como Lázaro cuando se resucitó de la tumba.
Am I willing to entertain what if I'm that powerful?
¿Estoy dispuesto a ver si soy así de poderoso?
What if I'm that powerful?
¿Qué pasaría si soy así de poderoso?
I just got chills all over my body.
Siento que se me relaja el cuerpo.
All you have to know is I'm powerful enough to see this all the way through with you, Jesus.
Estoy dispuesta a ver esto contigo, Jesús.
And do you know the way? Am I willing to accept that you know the way?
Estoy dispuesto a aceptar que tú sabes el camino.
Not yet, but I'm getting there.
No todavía, pero estoy yendo de poco.
But it's enough room. Again, the little willingness, he says, start that conversation and then do everything he tells you to do. Like you're saying, I'm going to ask him which miracles needed to be performed and every day, and just don't accept anything but miracles.
La pequeña dosis de buena voluntad y pedirle que te diga qué milagros obrar.
All you have to do is ask him, Jesus, do you have a miracle for me? Is a miracle available to me on this, whatever it is?
Jesús, ¿hay un milagro para mí en esto? Lo que sea que estén mirando.
Is this what you want me to look at?
¿Esto es lo que quieres que mire?
Are you, and here's the other question for him, Jesus, are you going to lead me out?
Otra pregunta, Jesús, ¿me vas a liberar de esto?
I have to first get to the place where I can trust that he's going to lead me out.
Well, no, you just have to ask him, are you going to lead me out?
Tienes
And
que,
just take the yes or no.
tienes que preguntarle si me vas a llevar, me vas a sacar de esto y escuchar sí o no.
Yes, I think I hear a yes.
So just take the yes. You don't have to believe it. Just say, okay, he says he's gonna.
Así que ella dice sí, toma el sí y no creas nada, simplemente tómalo.
Okay, now just ask him, okay, Jesus, what do I need to do to support you for leading me out?
¿Qué necesito, Jesús, para que me ayudes a sacarme de esto?
I don't know. I just saw an image of me putting my hand in his.
Yeah,
Tengo la imagen de mí misma poniéndome la mano.
that's
aquí.
the symbol of the first step. We have to reach out and take his hand,
Ese es el símbolo de tomarle la mano a él,
but not tell him how to do it.
pero no decirle a él cómo hacerlo.
And to not be afraid of him. I mean, I can feel like all of this past programming, you know, of as much as I've worked on establishing a relationship with him and trusting him and praying to him all the time, it's like I can still feel, you know, the lack of trust, the distrust, and the, you
Well,
know.
the great news about Jesus is he has two hands.
La buena noticia de Jesús es que él tiene dos manos.
You hold one hand,
Tú tomas una
and the other hand, you put all the feeling of mistrust and see what happens, and you just put that in his other hand.
y la otra mano le pones toda la desconfianza y ve lo que pasa.
I can feel my ego screaming. It's like so weird. It's like almost like throwing a temper tantrum. Like,
Yeah, go ahead,
like-
let it throw it and put that in there too. And see what Jesus does with it. We'll just have fun with it. Why not? Just see what Jesus does. You just put the whole thing over to him and just see what happens to it. All the screaming, all the yelling, pounding our head on pavement, whatever.
Pon todo esto, los gritos, la rabia en su mano. ¿Y qué pasa?
it's just so strange.
Es tan extraño.
And what happens when you give it to him?
¿Y qué pasa cuando se lo das?
I don't know, it's still there.
No sé, sigue ahí.
Did you fully turn it over?
¿Te entregaste?
What's that?
Did you fully turn it over to him?
I guess not.
Supongo que no.
See, he can't take anything from us. He can only help us what we're willing to give over to him.
Él no puede quitarnos nada, simplemente acepta cuando se lo entregamos.
You place it all in the light of divine being and honesty of God. What happens?
En la honestidad de Dios, a ver qué pasa.
It's easier to do it when I think of handing it over to divine light, as opposed to him as a individual, as a person.
Es más fácil cuando me pongo en la luz.
He won't be offended then if you put it in the light.
Él no se ofenderá si lo pones en la luz.
I don't know where this mistrust is coming from, because I actually had a past life memory of being with him, when he was on the earth plane, and I could feel my just absolute love of him and my just absolute trust of him. And it was just such a beautiful moment. So I don't know where all of this, I've been told it's my Christian programming, but I don't know if that's it.
It's just a desire in the mind for something other than to be with him all the time.
Solo un deseo en la mente de no estar con él todo el tiempo.
That's just how consciousness plays. It's not personal.
Ese es el juego de la conciencia, no es personal.
And yet it does create the sense of being a person.
El juego crea la sensación de ser una persona.
But it's just a great demonstration that the only way he can help us is if we give it all over. There can't be a scrap held back.
La única manera en que nos puede ayudar es que si lo entreguemos a él.
It has to be 100%. It can't be 99.9%. It has to be 100%. Okay, I am just willing to see this another way.
Tiene que ser 100%. Estoy dispuesto a ver esto de otra manera.
Am I willing to see this another way, Jesus? And if you hear no, you just got to go deeper.
Estoy dispuesto a verlo de otra manera, Jesús. Y si dicen no, vamos profundo.
The play of consciousness is just really, it puts conditions on everything. It's going to it loves conditions.
El juego de la conciencia le pone condiciones a todo al amor.
Jesus, you're not holding my hand right. It'll have come up with something. Jesus, you're not holding my hand right. And
Jesús no me está tomando bien la mano.
you didn't smile at me this morning, so I can't. However, it just plays like that.
No me sonreíste a la mañana. Cualquier clase de cosas.
It's like sometimes you just have to say no and I'm putting it in the light anyway,
What?
You just have to say no, I'm putting it in the light anyway.
Y hay que decir no, lo vamos a poner a la luz de todas maneras.
See, that's admitting, when we put in the light, it's admitting that it has no value for us.
Ponerlo a la luz es admitir que no tiene valor para nosotros.
It's seeing that the yelling and screaming and the fit, it doesn't have value to us.
Porque el grito, los patoleos no tienen valor para nosotros.
That's all.
Eso es todo.
Okay, well, give me some things to work on.
What? Just ask them if we're willing to accept a miracle. That's all.
Preguntémosle si estamos dispuestos a aceptar un milagro.
change in perception that it's not valuable to turn everything over to him? Am I willing to have a change in perception?
¿Estoy dispuesto a tener un cambio de percepción que no es valioso entregarle todo?
I hear yes.
Escucho sí.
Yes.
Sí,
That's beautiful.
es hermoso.
Thank you, Kathy. We love you.
Gracias, Katy, te amamos.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Good night.
Good night.
Buenas noches.